has a self-concept as well. It is the way they see themselves and feel about themselves when they are together. It's expressed in the amount they laugh together or don't laugh. Couples and families. Those with positive self-concepts are happy and enthusiastic about each other and about being together. Couples and families with negative self-concepts are characterized by constant complaining, criticizing, and arguing. Corporations have self-concepts as well, as does each division, department, or human grouping within the corporation, right down to the personality of the cleanup crew that comes in after hours. The self-concept of a business is made up of three basic ingredients. The first, the self-ideal, is a combination of the vision, values, ethics, and mission of the organization. Wherever these are clear and positive and committed to by top management, the people in the company are happier, more positive, and more confident about themselves and where they're going and where they work. One of the most profound and unavoidable responsibilities of management or parents is to clearly articulate this self-ideal, and then to embody their values and their behavior toward others, to repeatedly tell others what they stand for and believe in, and then lead by example. The second ingredient of the company's self-concept is the collective self-image. This is the way the company's management and employees see themselves and think about themselves. This self-image is largely determined by how well they feel they are doing their job, performing their functions. It's especially affected by the quality of their products and services, and by the way they feel they are perceived in the marketplace by their customers and suppliers. When I work with companies whose sales are up, whose market share is growing, and whose profits are respectable, everyone seems happy, outgoing, and confident. When I deal with companies that are struggling in the marketplace or for internal reasons, the employees are often like members of a team that's losing too many games. They're unhappy, unsure, and negative about their prospects. They take it out on each other by criticizing, complaining, and backbiting. One of the jobs of the executive or team leader is to keep people's spirits up by continually telling them how good they are. Everyone looks upward for guidance on how to interpret what's happening. The executive's job is to keep morale high by putting the best possible spin on events and by keeping people focused on the possibilities of the future rather than the problems of the past. The final ingredient of the organization's self-concept, self-esteem, is the sum total of the ideals of the corporation, the current performance of the organization, and how well each person feels he or she is being treated by superiors and co-workers. Managers who continually praise and encourage their people build high self-esteem in them. This high self-esteem is demonstrated in optimism, energy, creativity, cooperation, and commitment. It's the hardest ingredient of all to build and maintain, but people who like and respect themselves as part of a first-class team become a powerful force in a competitive marketplace. They become a victory just looking for a place to happen. A company, organization, department, division, work team, or family with a positive self-concept is one in which people feel terrific about themselves. Creating such a group is the highest art of management. It's the supreme skill of the individual in society. With a high, positive self-concept, people are more productive, more resilient, more confident, and happier than they could ever be without it. With this kind of team or family, you can do wonderful things. You can fulfill your potential as you help others to fulfill theirs. The greatest problem of human life is fear. It is fear that robs us of happiness. It is fear that causes us to settle for far less than we are capable of. It's fear that is the root cause of negative emotions, unhappiness, and problems in human relationships. The only good thing about fear, if there is anything good, is that it is learned, and because of this it can be unlearned. The fear of failure and the fear of rejection are learned responses, programmed into you before the age of 6. These fears usually set the upper and lower limits of your comfort zone. Because of them, you do enough not to be criticized or rejected on the low side, and you stay well within your limits so that you can avoid risk of failure on the high side. Once you've slipped into your comfort zone, you stay there, attempting to avoid any feeling of fear or anxiety. Your fears hold you back from most of what is possible for you. The opposite of fear is love, starting with self-love or self-esteem. There is an inverse or opposite relationship between self-esteem and fears of all kinds. The more you like yourself, the less you fear failure and rejection. The more you like yourself, the more willing you are to reach out and take the risks that will lead you on to success and happiness. The more you like yourself, the more willing you are to take the actions that propel you out of your comfort zone and toward the achievement of your real goals and desires. You begin the process of raising your self-esteem and overriding your fears by repeating the powerful words, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself, over and over. Start out each day by repeating, I like myself, 50 or 100 times until the words penetrate your subconscious mind. You will soon see and feel the difference in your self-confidence, your confidence, and your relationships with others. You will start to feel wonderful about yourself. Because of your self-concept, you become what you think about most of the time. Your dominant thoughts and aspirations become your reality. The things you think about and the way you think about them determine your levels of health, wealth, and happiness in every area of your life. You can tell how much you really want anything by how willing you are to discipline your thinking in such a way to keep your mind on only the things you want and off of the things you don't want. You have created your life today by all of your previous thinking. You are where you are and what you are because of yourself. You can change your future at any time by taking control of your conscious mind from this point forward. You can make your life into something wonderful, an experience of freedom, joy, health, happiness, and prosperity, simply by deciding to do so and by refusing to entertain any contradictory thoughts at the same time. It's up to you. Because of the nature of your multidimensional mind, you can rewrite your master program by deliberately bombarding your mind with a series of messages, framed in different ways and coming from different directions. If you want to become physically fit, you would do exercises that engage your whole body. If you want to become mentally fit, positive, and healthy, you ensure that the messages coming into your conscious mind are consistent with the ideal life you want to live. This change in the person you are, so you can enjoy the life you really want, is not easy. It's taken you your whole life to get to where you are today with your current state of mind. It will take considerable effort on your part to change, just like losing a large amount of weight over a period of time. Fortunately, it's worth it, and the results you get will be both rapid and out of all proportion to the effort you put in. To achieve different results, you must become a different person. You must change your goals and ideals for yourself and develop a new, more positive self-image. By the law of correspondence, your outer world will reflect your inner world. You must become a new person on the inside to permanently experience the good you desire on the outside. First, and for most people, the most difficult obstacle you will face is within yourself. It is your unconscious striving to remain consistent with what you said and done in the past that holds you back. This homeostatic impulse is another term for your comfort zone. It is your unconscious tendency to be drawn irresistibly toward doing what you've always done. This inability to break free of the tentacles of the past is the reason most people accomplish far less than they're capable of and remain unfulfilled and dissatisfied for most of their lives. Homeostasis is neither good nor bad. It is a natural mechanism built into you as a part of your standard equipment to enable you to function automatically in a great number of areas. This mechanism keeps your body at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. It maintains chemical balance in your billions of cells and governs your autonomic nervous system. It is indispensable to the proper physical function of your body. Whenever you think, say, or do something contrary to your current habits, your homeostatic impulse attempts to pull you back into your comfort zone by making you feel uncomfortable and uneasy. Because you always move from discomfort toward comfort, you tend to move back toward what you're comfortable doing and move away from things that are new and challenging. This is quite normal. Doing something different from what you're accustomed to makes you feel tense and uneasy. Even thinking about doing something different can be stressful. Moving out of your comfort zone can be so nerve-wracking, in fact, that most people never do it until they are forced to. Your natural tendency, if you are forced out of your comfort zone, even if you weren't happy in it, is to recreate a new comfort zone similar to the one you just left. You will actually work to recreate a situation you didn't like in the first place. Many people have had the experience of losing a job they didn't like and then going out looking for the identical job somewhere else. I remember losing my job as a dishwasher in the kitchen of a hotel, which was not a great job, and then spending the next few months applying for dishwashing jobs in other hotels. It's vital that you be aware of this homeostatic mechanism. It's nature's way of keeping you consistent with the way you've been in the past. But all growth and progress requires you to move out of your comfort zone in the direction of something bigger and better. Greater success and happiness are only possible for you when you are willing to feel awkward and uncomfortable during the process of creating a new comfort zone at a higher level of effectiveness. Beware the siren song of old habits, of the comfort zone, luring you to stay where you are, holding you back from all the great things that are possible for you. You must consciously and deliberately counter the pull of the comfort zone as you move upward and onward toward ever higher levels of accomplishment. The second major obstacle to change is a hardening of the attitudes. This is rooted in fear, as is much of the homeostatic impulse. This is called psychosclerosis. It is your natural tendency to fall in love with your own ideas and then to vigorously defend them against anything new. The opposite of psychosclerosis is flexibility, the willingness to consider other points of view, other ideas, and the very real possibility that you could be wrong. This mental flexibility is the mark of the superior person. The very act of considering all options in a particular situation enables you to see much more of what is possible for you. Instead of using your intelligence to find fault with alternative approaches, you suspend judgment long enough to see if you can't find something beneficial in a different idea or in a new way of doing things. This approach is essential in mental programming, in changing your mind for the better. A major reason people fail to move forward in life is that they become too rigid and inflexible in their ideas, especially in their ideas about themselves and what is possible for them. They then dwell on all the reasons why something would not work for them rather than why it could. They act as their own prosecuting attorneys, building the case against themselves and you as well if you let them. A major turning point in your thinking comes when you change your language from whether to how. When you start thinking about how you're going to accomplish something you want, and you simultaneously refuse to consider whether it's possible or not, your entire mentality begins to change. You do get what you think about most of the time. And if you continually think in terms of how you can achieve it, and the specific action you can take to move toward it, you are much more likely to be successful in the end. The power of love. Much of what you do is done either to get love or to compensate for lack of love, beginning in early childhood. The emotion of love exerts an enormous influence on your every choice and decision. Your self-ideal, the guiding mechanism of your self-concept and the regulator of your behavior, can be understood as your idea of the kind of person you need to be to earn the love and respect of the people you care about. Your self-esteem, what Dr. Nathaniel Branden calls your reputation with yourself, is largely determined by how lovable and valuable you appear in your own thinking. Many personality problems are rooted in love withheld. Your adult personality is largely formed by the amount and quality of love you received during your formative years. Almost everything you do today, the goals you set, the dreams you have, the commitments you make, is influenced by the power of love in your life. In fact, you are inevitably drawn toward the people whose love you both want and need, and you are inordinately influenced by their opinions. When you begin the process of reprogramming your mind, everything you do must be consistent with increasing the amount of love and respect you have for yourself and that others have for you. Only in this way will you be continually motivated to make the effort necessary to become the person you are capable of becoming. Who are the people whose love and respect are most important to you? What do you have to do and who do you have to become for them to love and respect you? These are core questions for a happy life. The power of suggestion. Second only to the power of love in determining how you think and feel is the power of suggestion. Your multidimensional mind is affected by everything that is going on around and within you. Your suggestive environment has an immense impact on everything you become and on everything that happens to you. Any change in your physical, mental, or emotional environment can change the way you think, feel, and act in moments, and thereby change your results. You are immediately influenced by changes in temperature or noise level. You are instantly affected by conversations or confrontations with other people. One unkind remark can put you off for the whole day. One bit of good news can make you happy and cheerful for hours. Unfortunately, unless you control them carefully, many of the suggestions in your environment will tend to be negative. The radio, television, and newspapers are full of negative sensationalism. Most conversations are filled with carping, complaining, and condemning. Most people have developed the habit of ain't it awful thinking and talking. Their conversations are negative and critical. The key to your mental programming is for you to take systematic and purposeful control of your suggestive environment. It is for you to create a mental world that is predominantly positive and consistent with the person you want to be and the life you want to live. Controlling your suggestive environment requires that you decide the ingredients of your mental diet for the indefinite future. There are 3 additional mental laws you need to understand to effectively reprogram your mind and change your future. They are the law of habit, the law of practice, and the law of emotion. They contain vital answers to questions about success and happiness, and they point to many of the solutions that you are seeking. Let's start with the law of habit. Virtually everything you do is the result of habit. The way you talk, the way you work, drive, think, interact with others, spend money, and deal with the important people in your life are all largely habitual. Your behavior in every area of life is based on the accumulation of all your experiences starting in infancy. Probably 95% of your actions and reactions are automatic, unconscious responses to your physical and human environment. Your habits are major obstacles to your becoming the kind of person you want to be. Your habitual ways of thinking, feeling, talking, and behaving are often roadblocks that stand between where you are today and where you really want to go. They keep you running in place. The law of habit is a vitally important mental law. It explains the comfort zone and success and failure as well as any other single principle. It has its counterpart in physics in Newton's first law of motion, which states that a body at rest tends to remain at rest, and a body in motion tends to remain in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Your thinking and behavior are subject to the same principle. In the absence of an outside force, or a definite decision on your part to do something different, you'll keep on doing very much the same thing indefinitely. You'll work in the same job, associate with the same people, eat the same foods, take the same route to work, engage in the same leisure activities, watch the same television, read the same books, and live very much the same kind of life. Habits are only good as long as they serve you, as long as their effect is to continually enrich and improve your life. It's when your habits become the major obstacles to your happiness that you have to modify them or change them completely. Some people have developed the habit of being late for appointments or late completing assignments. But successful people are very punctual and dependable. People can rely on them. Successful people keep their commitments, and they respect the time of others by not inconveniencing them. Others have the internet or the television or the newspaper habit. They spend inordinate amounts of time each day surfing the internet, watching television, or reading the newspaper. Often they do both at the same time. The most dangerous habits you can form, however, are mental habits. Because of the fact that whatever you think about continually, you create in your life. Your negative or self-limiting thoughts hurt you more than almost anything else you can engage in. Your habitual modes of thinking are absolutely the most important things in your life. As Shakespeare wrote, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. You live in a mental world. Nothing around you has any meaning except the meaning you give it with your thoughts. If you change your ways of thinking, you change your life. Success and failure, happiness and unhappiness, wealth and poverty are largely the result of habit, of the automatic ways you respond and react to what's going on around you. Changing habits that are no longer consistent with your higher purposes is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, and one of the most essential to the quality of your life. But unless you've already reached some level of excellence or perfection, you are living today with habits that you must discard if you're going to move forward. Remember, bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with. Good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. Your job is to form good habits and make them your masters. The next law is the law of practice. The good news is that all habits are learned, and they can therefore be unlearned. You are today, in every respect, the result of your conditioning, almost like a laboratory animal. You have been trained or trained yourself to be the person you are, and to get the results in life that you're currently getting. Your training began before you were old enough to know what was going on, and you are today the result of the training you have engaged in over the years. You can change, however, if you want to. The law of practice states that whatever thought or action you repeat often enough becomes a new habit. You can develop any habit you consider desirable or necessary. You can become the kind of person you want to be if you can discipline yourself to think and act in a way that is consistent with your new, higher ideals, long enough for them to become new habits. This is how you become a new and better person. Because your outer world corresponds to your inner world, as you begin to develop more constructive ways of thinking and behaving, people and situations around you will begin to change, sometimes in the most remarkable and unexpected ways. A friend of mine was involved in a messy lawsuit over a business matter. The more angry he became, the more determined and unreasonable became the other party, and so did his lawyers. He finally decided to change his thinking. He deliberately let the whole situation drop out of his mind. He began to think charitably and compassionately about the other party. When the subject came up, he refused to allow himself to become involved or upset. He just let it go. Within a few days of his deciding to change his thinking about the lawsuit, the other person called, apologized for any misunderstanding or bad feeling, and proposed a reasonable solution. Instead of their going to court, the matter ended peacefully. The new president of a fast-growing company was convinced that one of the executives he had inherited was playing politics and deliberately manipulating people and situations so he would appear to be more competent and more valuable to the organization than he really was. The new president was on the verge of letting the executive go, but he decided to change his thinking. He deliberately chose to reinterpret the behaviors of the executive in a favorable way. He then examined every action of the executive from the viewpoint of his being a loyal employee, acting in the best interest of the company. Somewhat to his surprise, he found that the executive's behavior was much easier to both understand and appreciate from this new perspective. He saw that the executive, far from being political in his behaviors, was extremely competent and was running interference for the new president in areas in which he was not yet familiar. The relationship between the two changed immediately, for the better, right after the president changed his thinking and began assuming the very best of intentions on the part of the other man. Your ability to take control of your mind and begin thinking the kinds of thoughts that lead to the outcomes you desire is the starting point of the process that leads to complete freedom, happiness, and self-expression. The next law is the law of emotion. Your emotions are the energizing forces behind your thoughts. The more intensely you feel something, the greater effect that thought or circumstance will have on your life. Emotion is like an electric current or fire, which can be either constructive or destructive, depending on how it is used. The law of emotion states that 100% of your decisions and subsequent actions are based on emotion. You are not largely emotional or 90% emotional and 10% logical as has been assumed. You are completely emotional. Everything you do is based on an emotion of some kind. Before I understood this point, I used to think that I was doing the logical thing, the practical thing, the thing that made sense in a variety of situations. When I learned about the law of emotion, I realized that I was really a slave to my emotions, especially if I didn't take time to think about which emotions had the upper hand in a particular situation or decision. Here's the key point. There are only two main categories of emotions, desire and fear. Most of what you do or don't do is determined by one or the other. And the things you do or refrain from doing because of fear greatly outweigh the number of things you do because of desire. Most people are immobilized by fears of all kinds. They fear poverty or loss. They fear criticism or disapproval. They fear ill health. They fear being taken advantage of. Above all, they fear failure and rejection to the point where they're willing to lead lives of quiet desperation rather than to risk having any of their fears realized. Most of the population lives this way most of their lives. The more you desire or fear something, the more likely you are to attract it into your life. A thought without an emotion behind it has no power to influence you one way or the other. An emotion with no thought to guide it causes frustration and unhappiness. And when you have a clear thought, positive or negative, accompanied by an intense emotion, or by the fear or desire, you activate the various mental laws and begin drawing whatever it is toward you. This is why it is so important for you to keep your thoughts on the things you want, and keep them off on the things you fear. Happy, effective men and women recognize the power of their thoughts, and they're very emphatic about keeping them positive and constructive. Your mind is so powerful that you must control it with great firmness so that it is continually moving you in the direction you want to go, or it will move you away from your desires. Changing your self-concept is not easy. It may be the hardest thing you ever do, and the most valuable. But it is not a matter of choice. Once you have made the decision to do something important and valuable with your life to achieve your own ideal of personal greatness, you absolutely must go to work on changing your own mentality. There are 3 requirements for developing a new self-concept. These are the keys to changing the direction of your life. First, you must sincerely want to change. You must really want to become totally positive toward yourself and your possibilities. You must have an intense, burning desire to be more than you've ever been before. Often, people ask me what they can do to get others to change. I remind them that the starting point of change, of accomplishing anything different or better, is desire. And desire is always personal. You can't want something for someone else, just as you can't set goals for someone else. It isn't that change isn't possible, it's just that it requires desire on the part of the person who expects to change or it won't take place. It's like the question, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is only one. but the light bulb must really want to change. The starting point of your becoming a new and better person is for you to feel that the change is desirable or necessary for both. The change, goal, the new personality qualities must be consistent with your values, your ideals, and the person you would really like to be. Second, you must be willing to change. Many people say they want to change, but in their hearts they're not really willing to give up the old life, the old associations, and everything else that goes with them. One person may want to be healthy, but may not want to give up smoking. Another person may want to be financially successful, but may not want to give up having a good time every night with his or her friends. You must be willing to let go of the old person in order to become the new person. You must be willing to stop doing certain things, even if your friends disapprove, in order to start doing the things that are consistent with the new you. You must overcome the twin obstacles of homeostasis and psychosclerosis, of the comfort zone, and inflexible thinking. Third, you must be willing to make efforts. You must be willing to persevere for a long time without much evidence of progress. What you are aiming for is a fundamental long-term improvement in your life. Remember, it's taken you many years to become the person you are today. You must be willing to work very hard for a long time to become someone different. One of the most powerful ways to change your mental habits and the future direction of your life is for you to go on a 21-day positive mental attitude (PMA) diet. For 21 days, you keep your thoughts, words, and actions consistent all day, every day, with the goals you want to achieve and the person that you would like to become. You need to stay on this diet for 21 days for two reasons. First, it takes an adult between 14 and 21 days to develop a new habit of thought, a new neural groove in the brain, like a cow path across a pasture. Sometimes you will notice definite changes in yourself and your results much faster, but usually habits that have taken a lifetime to form take longer than a few days to change or override. The second reason you need to practice these methods for 21 days is for you to learn patience and persistence. It takes 21 days of calm, patience, and warmth for a hen to hatch an egg. If a hen with a brain the size of a pea can discipline itself to sit on an egg for 21 days without seeing any change at all, then it's probably not too much to ask you to persevere patiently for the same period of time before expecting to see any changes. Patience itself is ultimately the key. The wonderful thing about your self-concept is that it is in a continual state of evolution. You are continually evolving and growing and developing in the direction of your dominant thoughts. If you change your dominant thoughts about yourself for any period of time, your self-concept and your belief will begin to change and evolve in that direction as well. The reason the self-concept of most people does not change appreciably over time is that they continue to think about the same things in the same way, day after day, year after year. William James wrote, "If I see myself today as I was in the past, my past must resurrect itself and become my future." But when you set big, exciting goals for yourself and the person you want to be, and then think about these things every day, you take full control of your mental evolution and the direction of your life. You become what you think about. 7 ways to control your mental life. There's a series of actions you can take every day to saturate your mind with positive influences and to assure that you are continually bombarding yourself with suggestions that are consistent with the person you want to become. Think about yourself in a casual and relaxed way as the person you would like to be, with the qualities you would like to have. Begin imagining what life would be like, what your home would be like, what your work would be like, what your health would be like, what your standard of living would be like that you would most enjoy. Allow yourself to fantasize and luxuriate in the daydream and in the feeling of achieving all your goals. And this activity is the first signal that a new direction is being programmed from your conscious mind into your subconscious computer. The first of these actions is visualization. This is perhaps the most powerful technique of self-image modification available to mankind. Your visual images become your reality. They intensify your desires and deepen your beliefs. They increase your willpower and build your persistence. They are enormously powerful. There are 4 elements of a visualization. An increase in any one of them will accelerate the rate at which you create the physical equivalent of that mental picture in your outside life. The first of these elements is frequency. How often you visualize a particular future event, goal, or behavior has a powerful impact on your thinking, feeling, and acting. People who accomplish extraordinary things visualize their desired results continually. They think about what they want to accomplish all the time. They replay the ideal image of their futures over and over, like projecting a slide on the screen of their minds. In fact, the frequency with which you visualize not only tells you how much you want to realize that picture, but also intensifies your desires and your belief that it's achievable. The second element in visualization is vividness. This refers to the clarity with which you see something in your imagination. There is a direct relationship between how vividly you can see a desired goal or result and how rapidly it appears for you. You've often had the experience of thinking about something you wanted. Your first thoughts were vague and fuzzy, but as you thought about it more and more, and perhaps gathered information, your mental picture of what you wanted became clearer and clearer. Finally, when you close your eyes and see it in complete detail, it materialized in your world. This is the way you achieve most goals. Successful people are very clear about what they want, and of course this refers to the clarity of their mental pictures. Unsuccessful people are unsure of what they want to do. Their fuzzy mental pictures are too vague to motivate them, or to activate the various mental laws to work in their behalf. The third dimension of visualization is intensity. This refers to the amount of emotion that you combine with your mental pictures. When you intensely desire something, when you're excited and enthusiastic about your goals, and when you have a deep faith that you will realize a goal that you're working toward, whatever it is occurs much faster. Increasing the amount of emotion with which you accompany your visualizations is like stepping on the accelerator of your own potential. This is perhaps why Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm." Unsuccessful people, on the other hand, are usually unmotivated and unexcited about what they are doing and where they are going. They have a general attitude of pessimism that keeps them functioning at a low level of energy. They tend to be more passive and accept the car he wanted on his steering wheel, so he could imagine he was already driving the car of his dreams. And within 1 year, he had started a new job, learned a new set of being the person and doing the things they really want. And since your external performance is always consistent with your internal image or picture, if you see yourself as an excellent parent, spouse, executive, or salesperson,